What's going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut, and today we're going to discuss the Phil Kessel trade, Part 1. Now, this original trade occurred back on September 18th in 2009 and was between the Toronto Maple Leafs and Boston Bruins. Now, this trade gets broken up. There's a bunch of different side trades that come from this, so this is going to be a major trade to follow. Now, the original trade here was between, like I said, Toronto and Boston. It saw Toronto acquire right wing Phil Kessel from Boston in exchange for a trio of draft picks. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. So, this trade occurred as Kessel was a restricted free agent, and Boston was unable to work out a long-term extension with him due to salary restraints. As you can probably know, the Bruins are always up against the salary cap. Now, Boston was also aware that other teams were willing to sign Kessel to a large offer sheet, which meant that Boston would either have to let him walk or trade him or trade other players to free up the cap space to keep Kessel. Now, Boston decided, let's just avoid this whole thing, so they shipped him away for draft picks. While the deal did net Toronto a key player, it was controversial. Now, he was only 22 at the time of this trade, and it was clear that he was good, but the problem was it also stood out that the Maple Leafs were in for a rough year in the 2009-2010 season. How did this trade work out for both teams? We will start with the Maple Leafs, who got the right wing Phil Kessel. So Kessel immediately would ink a 6-year extension with the Maple Leafs, and he missed the start of the 2009-2010 season due to a shoulder injury that he had suffered in the previous year's playoffs. Now, he had a decent first year for Toronto, ending the season with 30 goals to go with 25 assists over 70 games. Now, his stats did improve a bit in the 10-11 campaign, as he would score 32 goals as well as 32 assists. Now, he would score a career-high 37 goals to go with 45 assists in the 11-12 season. Now, he had a slow start to the 12-13 season, but he caught fire near the end of the year and helped Toronto break their 7-year postseason drought with 20 goals and 32 assists in the lockout-shortened season. Now, he would score 4 goals along with 2 assists over 7 games that postseason when the Maple Leafs bowed out. Now, prior to the 2012-13 season, he would ink a massive 8-year extension. And he proved to be good, as he would match his career high with 37 goals while piling on 43 assists that year. Now, the 14-15 season would see Kessel score 25 goals to go with 36 assists, but he did add a career worst plus-minus with a negative 34. Now, he would get traded after this year. Still, in Toronto, he was a 3-time All-Star, but he probably would have made it for a couple more times were it not for the 2013 All-Star game getting canceled due to the lockout and the 2014 one getting canceled due to the Olympics. So Toronto would trade him in a massive deal to Pittsburgh. Now, Toronto got 5 assets for him. The first one that we're going to look at is right wing Kasperi Kapanen, and Kapanen managed a single goal without any assists over his first 2 years. Now, he was mostly an AHLer. He did appear in 17 games in the NHL. Now, he would bounce around the AHL and the NHL in the 17-18 season, and he would end up spending 38 games at the NHL level that year. He would score 7 goals and add a pair of assists. Now, he became a full-time NHL player in the 18-19 season, and he did decent. He scored 20 goals and added 22 assists. Now, he did regress in the 19-20 season, as he only would manage 13 goals to go with 23 assists. Now, he gets traded back to Pittsburgh along with a couple of other players in exchange for a group of 4. So, first one is going to be defenseman David Warovsky. Now, Warovsky spent some time in the AHL before he himself was traded alongside one more player to the Carolina team in exchange for left wing Alex Galchenyuk. Now, Galchenyuk, he had a quiet half year in the 2021 season, scoring 4 goals with 8 assists over 26 games for the team. He did manage to add a goal along with 3 assists in the playoffs for the Maple Leafs. Now, back to this trade here, Toronto also got 3 more players, one of whom is center Philip Hallander, and Hallander spent the last few years in Sweden, but he's currently on loan. Toronto does own his NHL rights, so if he comes stateside, they get to put him in the AHL or ECHL or bring him to the NHL. They also got center left wing Evan Rodriguez, and Rodriguez did not sign with the team as he was a free agent. They also got a 2020 first-round pick. This would become the 15th overall selection. With that, they would choose center left wing Rodion Amirov, and Amirov is over in Russia. So those are very tough players to figure out who's playing in the KHL. Now Toronto, back up to this trade, they also got some more assets along with Kapanen, one of whom is defenseman Scott Harrington. Now Harrington appeared in 15 games for the club, managing to get an assist in the 2015-16 season before he was traded. Now he's traded to Columbus for left wing Kirby Reichel, and Reichel, he spent 1.5 years in the AHL before he got traded, along with a couple of other assets, to the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for 2 players. The first one that we're going to look at is center Tomas Plekanec. Now Plekanec, he would struggle over 17 games before he left. They also got right wing Kyle Bond, and Bond spent a half year in the AHL before he would walk as a free agent. Now back to here, Toronto got 3 more assets. So one of them was center Nick Spalling, and Spalling, he struggled to establish himself in Toronto as he would score a single goal to go with 6 assists over 35 games before he was traded to the Sharks in exchange for 3 assets. Now, the first asset was left wing Rafi Torres, and Torres was basically just acquired by Toronto in name. He never heard from anyone in the organization whatsoever, but he was paid his salary, so no one ever told him, hey, report to the AHL, go to the NHL, whatever you want to do. Nothing. So he ends up walking. Now, at this point in time, he was a controversial player who had delivered multiple somewhat dirty hits, and he had been suspended by the league multiple times. Now, they also got a pair of draft picks here. The first one, a 2017 second rounder, would become the 50th overall pick. It would be traded away. We will discuss this in a future video, the Frederik Andersen one. And then we got the 2018 second round pick, which would become 52 overall. With that, Toronto would select defenseman Sean Durzi, and Durzi would be traded away before playing for the team. This will be discussed in a future Jake Muzzin trade breakdown. Back up to this trade here for what Toronto got for Kessel. So they got 2 more picks that we have to look at. A 2016 first round pick would become the 30th overall pick. This was traded away. It will be discussed in the future Frederik Andersen trade. We also have a 2016 third round pick. This would be the 72nd overall pick. With that, they would go with defenseman James J.D. Greenway. And Greenway is currently playing in college hockey. He has not signed a deal yet. That was a lot for Toronto. So what did Boston end up getting in return? So Boston got the 2nd overall pick in the 2010 season, as like I said before, Toronto was going to have a tough year. So with that pick, they would select center Tyler Seguin, and Seguin had a modest rookie year. He produced 11 goals to go with 11 assists over 70 games. Now he played in 13 games during the 11-12 playoffs, and this was all in the Eastern Conference Final and the Stanley Cup Final. Now he would score 3 goals with 4 assists in a minor depth role as the team would go on to win the Cup. Now, he stepped up in the 11-12 season, leading the Bruins in goals with 29 and points with 67. He had a career-high plus-minus ratio of plus 34 that year. He had a decent 2012-13 season, as he would score 16 goals with 16 assists over the 48 games of the lockout-shortened year. Now, he only scored 1 goal over 22 games in the playoffs that year for Boston as they fell to Chicago. Due to salary reasons, Seguin ends up getting traded away after the season came to an end. This will get its own video in the future. Now, Boston got 2 more assets for Kessel. One of them was a 2010 second round pick. This would be the 32nd overall selection. With that, they would select center Jared Knight. Jared Knight spent 3 years in the AHL before walking as a free agent. Now, they also got a 2011 first round pick. This would become the 11th pick. With that, they would select defenseman Dougie Hamilton. And Hamilton, he gets caught up early during the lockout-shortened 12-13 season, and he played well. He recorded 5 goals to go with 11 assists as a second-pairing defenseman. Now, in the 13-14 season, he would add 7 goals and 18 assists. Now, he stepped up offensively with 10 goals and 32 assists, and defensively, 53 blocks and 106 hits in the 14-15 season. Now, like we've had before, due to salary reasons, the Bruins would have to trade away Dougie Hamilton as he was a restricted free agent after that 14-15 season. And like I did with Seguin, that will be a future video. So obviously Boston and Toronto got a lot of assets. How did everyone else do? So Pittsburgh got a lot of players in this trade too. The first one we're going to look at is right wing Phil Kessel. So Kessel did okay in year 1. Granted, he was good, but due to his lofty expectations, he finished the year with 26 goals and 33 assists. Now, he did show up in the playoffs for the team that year. He would score 10 goals to go with 12 assists as the Penguins would win the Stanley Cup. In the 16-17 season, he scored 23 goals to go with 47 assists. Now, he had another solid postseason performance that year, as he would score 8 goals to go with 15 assists as the Penguins would repeat as Stanley Cup champions. Now, he had a strong individual year in the 17-18 season, scoring 34 goals to go with 58 assists. This set both career highs with assists and in points with 92. But the team did not repeat once more as Stanley Cup champions. Now, in the 18-19 season, he would score 27 goals, but he had slowed down a little bit. Now, he gets traded away, and due to the importance of it, this will be its own separate video. It will be part 2, so stay tuned for that one. So, all said and done for Pittsburgh, Kessel was a one-time All-Star and a two-time Stanley Cup champion. So, how did the other players Pittsburgh got do? Well, in the original trade, they also got right wing Tyler Biggs, and Biggs spent 2 years in the ECHL before leaving the United States to sign overseas. We also have defenseman Tim Eriksson, and Eriksson spent 2 years in the AHL before leaving the team. Now, they also got a 2016 second-round pick. This would become the 61st overall selection. With that, they would go with wing Kasper Bjorkqvist. And Bjorkqvist, he is currently playing in Finland on loan from the AHL. He is still under, the Penguins do own his NHL rights if he comes back stateside. Now, in the second trade here, where the Penguins got back Kasperi Kapanen, the right wing, Kapanen, he had 11 goals with 19 assists in the 2021 season. He added a goal and a pair of assists in the playoffs. Pittsburgh is still high on him. They also got 2 more players here, one of whom is wing Pontus Adberg. And Adberg, he's currently in the AHL, or in the KHL, sorry. So you never know with that. And then they also got defenseman Jesper Lindgren. And Lindgren is currently in the AHL for the team. So Pittsburgh got a lot. We also have to discuss a couple more teams. We'll start with Carolina. Now, Carolina got a couple of players here. So defenseman David Warzowski, he spent the 2021 season for the team in the AHL, but he is currently left and played overseas, or joined to play overseas, I should say. They also got right wing Igor Korsavskov, and he spent the 2021 season on loan to the KHL. It's unknown if he will come back. We now have the Columbus Blue Jackets, and Columbus got defenseman Scott Harrington. Harrington, he's been a serviceable, defensive-minded defenseman for this team since the 16-17 season. Now, offensively, he hasn't done much. He has 7 goals to go with 30 assists, but he does have 217 blocks and 184 hits over his 178 games as a Blue Jacket. Now, we have 2 more teams to look at. Next, we'll do the Montreal Canadiens. So the Canadiens got left wing Kirby Reichel, and Reichel appeared in 4 NHL games, scoring a goal and an assist before being traded away. We will not be discussing that. They also got defenseman Rene Revelev, and he would have played 7 games in the Canadian system, 2 at the NHL level, 5 at the AHL, before being traded. Once more, we will not be following that. They also got a 2018 second-round pick. This would become the 56th selection. With that, they would select center Jacob Olofsson, and Olofsson is currently playing in Sweden. Montreal still has his NHL rights. Lastly, we have the San Jose Sharks. The Sharks got 2 players, the first of whom was center Nick Spalling, and Spalling played bottom line minutes for 23 games in San Jose, where he did score a pair of goals, but then he would walk after that half season. Lastly, the Sharks got defenseman Roman Polak, and Polak, he had 0 goals to go with 3 assists over 24 games, but he did provide strong defensive stats as he recorded 44 blocks and 83 hits. Now, his lack of offense did continue into the playoffs, where he did not have a single point, but he did continue to have solid defensive numbers, 45 blocks with 67 hits, as the Sharks would make their run to the Stanley Cup Finals, but they would lose to Kessel's Penguins in that Stanley Cup Final, and then Polak would walk after that half season. So all said and done, this was definitely one of the busier trades that we've had to look at. Again, this was Phil Kessel Part 1. This will be broken into a bunch of different off trades here. Like, so far off the top of my head, I can tell you Sagan, Dougie Hamilton, Frederick Anderson, and, of course, Phil Kessel Part 2, and Jake Muzzin. So definitely stay tuned. Those will all be coming up shortly. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a good rest of your day.